Coach Sunday Oliseh has been trying to explain his own part of the story, but one thing is certain, he says, I'm the boss, and what I say must take place. We tried to get Coach Sunday Oliseh on this show tonight, but hey, the coach is so busy. He's trying to get his team ready for the game against Cameroon on Sunday, so we understand the coach needs to stay focused. It's about time we even kill these talks and face the real football. But our man in Belgium, Toyin Ibitoye, had a chance to sit with Coach Sunday Oliseh to trash out some of these issues. Let's listen to Sunday Oliseh's part in all of these drama going on, and then we'll come back. The guys in the studio will dissect it. Don't go anywhere. Watch. We'll be right back.
Okay, well, let's talk about the goalkeeper, first choice goalkeeper we've seen for a long time, Oliseh-Enyeama. I wasn't at the game today. He retired from international football just a few minutes to that game. And a lot of people are saying it was as a result of the fact that he fell out with you in camp. What happened between you and Vincent?
Well, it's puzzling really, because and to say the least, I'm very hurt. I'm very disappointed at these character assassinations that Vincent has taken on my personality as regards this issue. If you want to retire, retire. You don't have to drag and insult and lie on somebody who did nothing. I will take you down how this went through. We called up everybody to camp. We invited 24 players. And most of the players, in fact, Obi Mikel came in on Sunday night. He was supposed to be here on Monday, which was very good. And most of the players came in on Monday. But I knew, because Vincent had gone for his burial ceremony of the mom, that he might come in late. He came into camp on Tuesday afternoon by 5:20 or 5:30. Just as the training was almost being over, he drove in from Lille. And he came in, and there are even pictures that we snapped when he came in of me hugging him, because I was happy to see him back in camp. But when we trained that day on Tuesday afternoon, I wasn't happy with the physical involvement, input of my players. So when we had dinner, before dinner, I spoke to the players and I made it clear I wasn't happy with it. And I needed an improvement for us to play more as a team, that we deserve better. And I could see the body language of the players, that they were very receptive and they were conscious of what it was. Only at the end of my speech, to go to sit down, for Vincent to stand up and say he wanted to say something. And I told him, I said, look, this is not the time to say anything, because we just had a discussion about how to improve things. We'll discuss personal issues after. He said, no, he wanted to say something. And I refused. I said, no, I don't want you to say anything. Please sit down. Later on, you can come to me and talk if you want something. He said, no, he was adamant. He wanted to say something. And I told him, I said, look, with all due respect, this is the Super Eagles. I am the coach. We're not going to have two coaches. I decide who talks when we're at the meeting. And at the moment, I'm telling you no. If you refuse to do what I'm saying, then it's better you go out. He was still adamant and trying to raise his voice. And then I told him, I said, it's either you go out or we leave the room for you. And since he refused, I told him, it's either you go out or I'll get you to be taken out. Because you are stopping the team from even having dinner. And eventually his teammates got up and took him out and said, hey, come on, Vincent, try to and then, no, I'm skipping one part. The part I'm skipping was that at one point I told him, I said, it's either you stop this now or you can go back home. And when he continued, I gave him a handshake. I said, okay, now you can go home. I've released you. You just came, you've not even trained, and you're already looking for an argument or problem. So go home. Because he had not even had one training session. So I went in my room, and 5 of the colleagues, John Obi Mikel, Emenike, Musa, Onase, and Echejile came to my room and said, look, coach, we've spoken to him, and he is aware. We know him. He talks sometimes before he thinks, and this. And I said, okay, he can stay. We are trying to build a team. We're not looking for it. He can stay around, but that was it. And then next morning we came, everything was settled. We ate breakfast, we went as we were about to go for training, then I received a message from back home where Vincent had insinuated and made public that I insulted the memory of his mother when I spoke to the team. And this was really hurtful and a blatant lie. And I found it even quite, with all due respect, insane. Because you can't make an accusation, a false accusation, when there are so many witnesses, as much as 19 players, 3 other 4 officials, and there was no reason to talk about your mom, because you just coming into camp. There was nothing to talk about you. So that was really, to now trying to make a character assassination and try to make the people sympathize the fact that he was mistreated, against his mom. He is the captain. He was the captain of this team. When we played in Tanzania, I called the team administrator, Dayo, and we had arranged for the team to wear a black band and to have 1 minute of silence before we played Tanzania in honor of Vincent's dead mom. The only reason why that was not done, Dayo Enemy is my witness. The only reason why that was not done was because Dayo came back and said they refused us because we had to have a request to calf made out, and the time was too short. That was the reason why. Now, how would a man that is sensitive enough to try to honor Oliseh-Enyeama's mom now insult his mom?
Look, let me take you off that track a little bit, and then we'll come back to it. Some people are saying that Vincent was merely reacting to the fact that you had dropped him as captain for Ahmed Musa. But when you were appointed as coach of the Super Eagles, did you at any time, reach out to Vincent, who was captain of the team at that time, to discuss with him? Did you carry him along? Did you make him feel wanted in the team? Because that's the feeling, that you never wanted Vincent from day one. You were not ready, and you had always made up your mind that he was not going to be your captain.
Listen, before I was appointed coach of Super Eagles, Oliseh-Enyeama had a big rift with the NFF concerning statements he made concerning the pitch in Kaduna. I was not yet a coach. I was in Nigeria, and I stood up for Vincent because I felt that he shouldn't be castigated for representing his teammates. When I was appointed as chief coach of Super Eagles, the first thing I did was to pick up my car very early in the morning, drove to Lille, and spent a whole day watching Vincent train, took him to lunch, which I paid for. And I had lunch with him and to intimate him with my plans to build the team, with him as captain of the team. And when I spoke to him the tactical things we wanted to change, the policy changes we wanted to make, like you do with a captain. And when I spoke to him there, he made one statement. He was talking about retiring in the year of 2 years' time.
After 2017 Nations Cup?
Yeah, and I told him, I said, Vincent, I'm trying to build a team at least in 2018. I don't need a captain who's thinking of retiring or thinking of who's planning after football while we're preparing. So, and nobody does that in football. You wait till your last game or your last month and then you announce retirement. Let this be out of the agenda because I didn't want this. 2 weeks ago to this tournament, when Vincent called me to discuss about his funeral arrangements for the mom, and I told him, I said, Vincent, it's saddening what has happened to you, but I can't be available
for the mom's burial.
Because of the fact that for other reasons, but I had spoken to the president, and he was going with the delegation.
That's the NFF president.
NFF president, President Amaju. So and then said he was going to be there, so we will be represented. And while we were having discussion, he was talking again about retirement. That was when I decided to pick Ahmed Musa as captain, because I felt then, okay, he's probably not into it anymore. So to now read that as if there's a personal look, I don't know Vincent personally. So to carry a grudge against somebody I don't know, you must be.
You didn't know him until he was in the Super Eagles, probably?
No, I just know him, and I had already retired, so it was as if we had personal. I can say I knew the kind of boy he is. And I will take you back memory lane. This is not the first time. This was the same major problem Oliseh-Enyeama had with Betty Vogts. And Betty Vogts kicked him out of the team. I remember he was supposed to be #1 keeper in 2008 Nations Cup, and because of this kind of attitude, Betty Vogts made him eventually the third goalkeeper, almost sending him home. We've heard about what happened in 2008. We've heard about what happened in 2010. We've heard about what's been happening and how it keeps going. Problems with stealing, cashing. We've heard about all this kind of thing. So we cannot continue over one player. And now to start with a man who's just starting and trying to build, and you're trying to now get a nation against. If you want to retire, retire. Must you make trouble on everybody?
Whew. So you've heard the coach. It's getting tough, but we just hope that after this, no more. So it says if you want to retire, Vincent, retire. Don't slow down the building process of the team. And same thing Oliseh-Enyeama said yesterday, that if it's going to be the problem with Nigerian football, then he should quit. So, after listening to the coach, two wrongs don't make a right. Let's just
bury the agenda. Like I told you before we came on set, I listened to him, I listened to Vincent, so I'm trying to reconstruct what could have happened. And what I can deduce is none of them will come out of this without having any blame.
Yeah.
So it's in the best interest of Nigeria for us to just bury the hatchet and face the real issues. Face why our players are not playing in the top leagues.
Yeah.
Why we don't have creative players.
Yeah.
Why we
not getting the results.
Why we put somebody on the field and even after 30 minutes the coach is not convinced and they have to take him out. Those are the issues. Why we didn't have choices. We had to play right back at centre back. They were clumsy, making schoolboy errors. On the day that John Mikel Obi was our best player, a lot of issues, a lot of issues, really. And I'm hoping we get to sort out these issues. I feel for Nigeria.
Yeah,
I feel for Sunday Oliseh.
Yeah.
We do not have players.
He got it. Yeah, and it's taken a very difficult job.
Yes,
very, very difficult.
Because this is not a good way to start.
At all.
If you don't qualify for the 2017 Nations
nobody will
Cup,
listen to us. And those who compared him to the African Guardiola didn't do him any favors. They didn't, they're putting a kind of burden on him that his shoulders cannot carry.
So those are just talks on the surface.
He said,
bringing in a new coach.
I am no magician.
Yeah.
I agree. But whether or not we have the time, you're calling for patience. Nigerians are naturally not patient.
At all.
That's a problem we all have. I'm not saying beat Cameroon 10-0, but no Nigerian will sit down and see Congo do what they did to us and smile about it. No.
It was humiliating. Saeed, let's take this forward. Would you like to see Oliseh-Enyeama in the team again?
Of course, I would like to see him. I just hope they settle this as quick as possible. But you have to blame both sides. I think it's a 50-50 thing. Yeah. You have to blame Enyeama. You have to blame Oliseh. Just for the sake of peace, let's just settle this once and for all. Let Enyeama come back if that is if it's possible, and if he wants to stay away to avoid problems here and there, let him stay away. But we need to just tackle these issues. Oliseh should know one thing. If he fails to qualify for the Nations Cup in 2017, I'm telling you, Nigerians will clamor for his head. We all clamored for Samson Siasia years back.
Just one loss, and that's it.
We lost our...
He didn't lose.
Yeah, we
had a
2-2 against
Liberia game,
and we didn't qualify for the Nations Cup then.
And then that was in charge of the first one that we lost, and then he came on
Nigerians, the same Nigerians that shouted for...
Saeed and also, we must underline one fact, that Vincent has given us a good part of his life.
Yeah.
Of course.
And whatever issues you have with Vincent, this is not how to treat someone that has given
this much.
And you see, we should have learned the way people like Rashid Yekini exited the Super Eagles. If Vincent says, okay, I'm done, I'm not playing, give him a fitting testimonial and let all end well. It's not about playing for even if he decides not to play for the Super Eagles anymore, ensure that all of these things are sorted so that other players... I mean, you were joking about Alex Iwobi. We just brought a young man, and he'll be sitting somewhere and...
Gets a call from Jordan Ibe.
Have I made the wrong decision?
Jordan Ibe says, what's going on there? And then he says, let's talk when I get to England. Guys, let's leave it at that. So much coming out of Sunday Oliseh and Oliseh-Enyeama. Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll just talk briefly on Sam Allardyce joining Sunderland, and of course, Jurgen Klopp moving to Liverpool. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.